Hello, everyone, and welcome to another great episode of Stars of Big Sky Country, the series that spotlights those at the high school, collegiate, or professional level that made an impact right here in the 406. Welcome to season 2, and we are diving right in, wasting no time. This guest is one who I have had on my wish list for the last, season and now season 2, and we finally got him. A man who needs no introduction, but what I can say is he's probably the best rodeo clown of all time. Choteau's own, it is Flint Rasmussen. Welcome, Flint. How you doing?
I there's other people I could name who I wish I was on their wish list. I won't get into that. Good to see you because we technically we go back a little bit, right?
Dusty Glico. Yeah, the
Yeah.
the Great Falls Dusty Glico Challenge is when I first met you in person. I knew all about you because so some history for those of you that don't know, which is probably all of you. So my wife and I, we are originally from Spokane, and then we went to Sioux Falls, South Dakota when I got a job, and then COVID happened, and that ended that. Then Omaha, and then finally work brought us here to Great Falls. But while we were in Sioux Falls, rodeo is a big thing, and we had never been to one. And so I don't know if people technically consider PBR as rodeo, but we went to, PBR event, and there's Flint. And we were like, this guy, wow, you would almost pay just to come and watch this guy entertain. We had never seen anything like it. And so then when I found out, fast forward to Great Falls that you were going to be at Dusty Glico, I was like, oh man, I have so many questions. Like I cannot wait to talk to this guy. So yeah, there's a little bit of a
Yeah.
throwback there.
Sioux Falls is a great event for us, the PBR. It's one of our main tour events. And I love Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I think it's a happening little city. And when I say little, it would be the biggest city in Montana, but that's a city you got to admit being there. Um, they've invested, it's the hub of a lot of things. It serves 3 or 4 states. Beautiful arena. I've been pretty outspoken about it's time for a city in Montana to build an arena,
Yeah.
multi-purpose. Hey, it doesn't have to be an 18,000 seat NBA arena, but a 9,000, 10,000 seat multi-purpose. Sioux Falls has shown that investing money makes money. It's provides joy for the community, and I think Montana needs that. Sioux Falls, and Rapid City, those are good examples of that, both in South Dakota. So
Yeah, I've been to both of them, been to both those arenas. Denny Sanford is, I mean, surprisingly, the first time I went there was for an arena football game, and I was like, wow, this is something. Like, I was not,
yeah,
coming from Spokane that has the Spokane Arena, and you don't really think much of that because when you grow up in Washington, everybody compares everything to Seattle and Tacoma. But when we went to Sioux Falls for a game, I was like, this thing's impressive. Like, this
yeah,
is, yeah, they got
great
something
place.
here.
That's a good spot too. And the day we talked at the bull ride at the PBR in Great Falls, I believe it was raining. Am I right?
Yes, it
We
was. It
stood
was
under.
raining.
Remember, we stood in under the covers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the weather can happen just like that. But no, it's been good times with Flint. And so the first question I ask for all of my guests is, what's it like to be you, Flint Rasmussen?
Huh. Do you want the answer 3 years ago, or do you want? I think probably that's actually. I think everybody stops and thinks about it, which means it's a good question,
Yeah,
right? Um,
never get the same answer twice.
yeah, I think the first thing that comes to my mind, I think, is being me is probably way different than people would imagine. I get a lot of, oh, you're around people all the time. Oh, you're always surrounded by this and women and fun. And I moved to Texas a year. I've been here a year now. When I retired from working in the dirt in the arena, I stayed employed by the professional bull riders, and our main headquarters, our corporate offices are here in Fort Worth, Texas now. So I'm kind of like the NFL player that played for 20 years and then they gave him a job. I oversee some things, and I think if I had to describe my life now in Texas, it's probably anonymous. Um, I'm just the middle aged guy that goes and eats at restaurants by himself in my neighborhood. So yeah, it's a little anonymous. And so was very happy with anonymity. Of course, I was pretty burned out. physically, emotionally. But honestly, now I'm getting a little restless. I'm feeling better. My body's feeling better, working out. So a little restless. We'll see where that restlessness takes me. But also, the biggest thing it's like being me, honestly, and this may sound corny or cliche, is I have two awesome kids,
Yeah.
Shelby and Paige, who were, I think, like at Montana State, I think they influenced the rodeo program in athletics there as much as anybody ever has. Just in the way they held themselves, presented themselves, performed, and they live like 35 minutes from me down here, both for work opportunities. They came down here, so that makes me happier than normal. So that I don't know if that answers the question what it's like being me. For a while, my life being me was I never got tired of being recognized unless I was in a hurry and somebody was rude. Um, loved when I lived like in Billings. I lived in Billings for a few years and go to a restaurant. People, hey Flint, good to see you. In Montana, it's more like being friends.
Yeah.
It's like seeing, and I could sit and visit with people for an hour about where they're from and what the high school mascots are. And so I'll tell you, uh, when I was trying to decide after my retirement, what do you want to do now? Well, we'll see. Well, what do you want to do? That's everybody's thing. What would you like to do? And my answer was, I did what I loved to do and wanted to do for 30 years. So it's not an easy answer. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is sit on a beach, golf, eat whatever I wanted, travel, but those bills won't pay themselves. So, so yeah.
No, that's very true, which is a great segue into the next chunk of this. For the people on here that fall into the professional category, so like Josh Hustis, Kai
Mhm.
Stewart, Bare Knuckle, I always Wikipedia them and see just what's on there and pick out a few tidbits that I want to say
Uh-oh.
if they're true or false, you know.
Okay.
So for Flint Rasmussen, it says born Flint Rasmussen. So I'm going to assume that's correct.
My I get asked a lot what my real name is. Yeah. Flint Allen Rasmussen. Yes.
Okay, all right. It says that you were a former high school and history and math teacher.
Haver High, baby. Go blue ponies.
Wow.
I still bleed a little blue. Once you're in Haver, the blue runs deep, man. I keep up with Aber. Like Mark Mariani, who played in the NFL, he was little when I coached up there, but we're friends. Him and his quarterback from high school, Gary Wagner. I coached or I taught with his mom. I mean, there are connections. Haver has more connections than you can imagine. So yeah, I coached 3 seasons because I student taught because my high school football coach, Butch Damberger, was the coach. And so I student taught and coached football, and then I got a job there. So I coached 3 football seasons and taught 2 years and coached track too as well.
Wow. Okay. So it also said that you were all state football and track, so it sounds like that's correct also.
So I was a first team all state defensive back and kicker.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. That's a
but
combo.
I, as a kick and punt returner, played wide receiver. Shoto, we played 11 man back then, had 50 kids out for football. Enrollments were higher then. And then in track, I was a placer at the state track meet in the long jump. Still have the school record at Choteau High in the long jump. There you
Wow, impressive. Okay.
go.
And then it said that you were the youngest child, but it didn't say of how many. So, four, youngest of
Or
four. Okay.
my brother Will is the oldest, great, very busy pro rodeo announcer. My sister Linda, who lives in Oregon, award-winning educator, and my brother Pete, who lives in Choteau. He and my dad run some cows, and he is the county judge. He's the justice of the Pete. So there you go.
That's awesome. Then University of Montana Western Bulldogs, you're wearing the shirt.
That is
And
true. I gotta tell you something.
okay.
Maybe you were gonna get to this. I by design wore this today for Montana. I am a Western Bulldog because later this month I'm getting an award at Montana State, a Blue and Gold Award. It's for people who represent the state of Montana and Montana State out nationally, internationally, and make a difference. And when they called me, I said, "It's presented by the Montana State Alumni Foundation," and I said, you know, I'm not an alum, right? Like, they said that's not a prerequisite. But even when I was at Western, those aren't rivals. You
Yeah.
know, Frontier Conference, love Frontier Conference football. We're so lucky in Montana to have all that available to us, the Grizzlies, the Bobcats. Um, but I had somebody accuse me when the big college game day thing at Bozeman came up that, hey, why do you portray yourself as a Montana State grad? Never happened. My family goes back. My parents were from the class of 1960 at Montana State College, home of the Bobcats, and we've been huge Bobcat fans even when I was at Western. So proud Western graduate, huge Bobcat fan. So I'm holding on. I have this sitting beside me as well. So I'm really taking it all in here.
There you go. Well, it was perfect fit for today, so I certainly appreciate it. And then let's see, 8-time Clown of the Year.
Yeah, pro rodeo. That's a voted award. I was the professional rodeo clown of the year 8 consecutive years and got voted to work the National Finals Rodeo those 8 years as well. Then I transitioned over to exclusive with the PBR right after that. Yes.
Okay. And then the last one, I really hope this one is true. If none of the others, were false. This one, it said that basically you became a rodeo clown because, quote, you could do better than the other clowns. Is the conversation you had with your father and brother?
Why else do we do things, right? When you go, why, why are there so many podcasts out there? Because somebody watches one and go, I can do that. And it's
Yeah,
not easy, is it? There's a lot to it.
there's a lot
Um,
to it.
yeah, it was when I was about 19 years old. I grew up, my dad was a rodeo announcer, and, you know, we just grew up around it. I never wanted to make a living in the rodeo world, never was all that passionate about it, but I knew everything there was to know about it. So after my first year of college, sitting there with my dad and my brother, and I just kind of offhand comment, hey, these rodeo clowns aren't that funny. Now, not the bullfighter guys. I was never that brave, but the comedy guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think I can do better because I was always pretty entertaining. I had a really strong music and stage drama type background as well as sports. I think I do better. Like they do the same thing, just offhand, and they kind of dared me to do it, and away it went.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about that because, for me in what I do, and so I love doing the podcasting thing. I loved working at the news station, but I've always wanted to do like ring announcing for wrestling, and I've gotten a few cracks at it and things like that. But when I would call around to like local promotions when we lived in South Dakota or in Washington, and I would ask, hey, could I come in and do one of these events for you guys? The response was always, oh, well, we got a guy, which means that they have somebody basically for free or for super cheap.
Yeah.
And so the few times that I've gotten to do it, I've had like wrestlers come up and be like, "Man, like you get it. Like this is like you clearly understand like the flow and everything, the timing." They're like, "Our person just isn't that." I was like, "Well, who is your person?" It's like, "Well, it's this guy's, wife." So it's kind of free labor and whatever. But I mean, how did you overcome that phrase? Like, "Oh, we've got a guy," because I know that that's got to be a phrase you hear
It's
in
yeah,
rodeo.
it is, and when I say my career took off, in the pro rodeo scene, I kind of showed up in about 1994 and made a splash. But I had been doing that 5, 6 years prior to it in Montana. There's a lot of drive around Montana, and a lot of little towns have rodeos. Now, they're not Cheyenne Frontier Days and not the Calgary Stampede, but they're fun times for small towns.
Yeah.
A lot of times the festivals and the biggest party of the week is centered around a small town rodeo, and that's where you got to start. So I was seen a couple times. I went my first one, like you said, I went. There was trust in our family name, and my brother was announcing the rodeo in Superior, Montana, and home of the Bobcats, by the way, Superior High. And called and said, my brother wants to do this. Can he come? There was another guy working. He helped me. So, yeah, in those small rodeos, they didn't necessarily already have someone. The big ones usually do 2 or 3 years with a contract. So as I worked my way up, they saw me coming. You start and it just builds the size of rodeos that you do. When the very first PRCA pro rodeo, I ever worked was in Belt, Montana. So it's a pro rodeo, but with all due respect to Belt, Montana, it's not the Calgary Stampede.
Yeah.
That's how you build your way up. And within, probably 4 years, I was starting to, the word was getting out, word of mouth. And I always say about sports in the same way in college sports, pro sports, it's never somebody's turn.
Yeah.
If you're good, you'll get to play. If you're not good, you're not going to get to play. We don't care how long you've been here. So I got better and better. And within, those 3, 4 years, pretty soon they're like, well, he's good. Let's get him. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There is that in rodeo. I see it more in my brother Will's profession, the rodeo announcer profession.
Oh
They'll
yeah.
keep a guy forever. And then
Yeah.
if they get rid of him for somebody better, it's like the end of the world. Oh my God, did you hear? They got, they're kind of drama queens, those rodeo announcers, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's but I applaud the effort there because yeah, it's always tough because whether it's play-by-play announcing, either
Mhm.
even color commentary or ring announcing, like I've done all those things, and you're looking for an opportunity just to get reps in. Like I just want reps, like let me do one match, let me do one
Sure.
game, and you hear the guys doing PA announcing or doing the radio, and you're like, oh man, like I could do so much better, but
Yeah.
it's like how do you insert yourself? So you
Hey,
climbed your way up the ladder.
I do got to tell you, when I was at Western, um, I was the PA announcer for basketball and football. So,
Nice.
and basketball was my favorite. I loved doing basketball because it was like outlaw number 23, or the opening. Welcome to Stroud Gymnasium on the campus of Western Montana College and Frontier Conference basketball action. Tonight's battle featured. I to this day would
Yeah.
like to do like basketball tournaments and stuff. Yeah.
Well, so now let's get really into the meat of it. I mean, you are considered the most famous rodeo clown out there. So like how does that even happen? So clearly we know with the rodeos and professional bull riding that there are the rodeo clowns, the entertainers out there, in the
Mhm.
arena, but you kind of took it and made it something where it's like now people look and they go, oh, like a Flint Rasmussen, like it's you are now in your own category for what you were able to turn that profession into. How does that even happen?
Well, there was probably a stereotypical rodeo clown,
Yeah.
baggy jeans, which I wore as well. I would just strip them off. But the baggy jeans, it was kind of, if you look back on the history of rodeo clowns, almost hobo type persona, moping around, old little hat, um, telling jokes. Hey, my wife's up there and she's in seats 23, 24, and 25. That's how big she is. It was just nothing wrong. People appreciate that. But when I came in as high energy, music was starting to be a big part of rodeos, upbeat music. And I was always a dancer and performer. And I was young when I worked the national finals rodeo for the first time. I was 30 years old. And that was very young back then. And not, this sounds terrible to say, but looking back now at pictures, not an ugly guy. I had pretty long hair with blonde highlights, and I always wanted to be a performer. I always wanted to be like a rock star, sing, perform in front of crowds and point to the crowd. So I approached it completely different than anyone else. I wasn't a worn out rodeo cowboy. I wasn't an old bullfighter that I guess I'll move to the barrel and do those clown act. I wanted to perform. I wanted to have the crowd on their feet and make a difference. I remember saying, I wanted people to see me that wouldn't normally see a rodeo clown and know who I am. And that's what I did. It was all high energy and it fit right into what the PBR was producing in the early years. So I did both. And that's why, because I kind of changed the style a little bit. Now there's guys out there doing that, and people say they're just trying to copy you. No, they're not. It's the style now.
Yeah.
It's a compliment. I mean, if they directly steal stuff, then yeah, they're trying to copy. But no, I feel like I changed it a little bit. I think that's why.
Now, was that a conversation that you had to have with, I'm assuming it was probably PBR that you're like, I wanted to come in and do this. And they're like, well, I don't know.
Early in the PBR, they were produced a little bit different than they are now. We have everything's internal. We produce from the ground up, but
Yeah.
there were promoters out there that would produce PBRs, and they had seen me. The guy named Jerome Robinson, a guy named David Allen, who is now the general manager of the Nile and in Billings. They brought me in and took me to PBRs, and they knew what I was going to do, and it just fit. PBR was different than rodeo. They wanted something a little different, a little more high energy, a little more contemporary, which it still is. So it didn't really have to explain it. It was self-explanatory once I got there. But I remember those, when I started, the bull riders were Tuff Hedeman and Jim Sharp and Ty Murray, those old legends. And it was cool to see them. They didn't know who I was, and they'd come up, "Hey man, good job." Like, yeah, that's cool. So that
Yeah.
was fun.
So you talked about the art of entertainment. What does that mean to you? Like, describe what the art of entertainment is as far as to be successful. What does success look like?
Well, the basic is that I've always used is number one, when they leave, they feel better than when they got there. But I say it when I speak at like graduations. I listen, I'm of the understanding that you're not going to really remember much of what I said, but when you leave here, you'll feel better. You'll remember that I made a difference in your day. And I think that people should leave feeling better than when they came. Leave in a good mood. That's the goal. Thus, I never talked. There's current events out there that aren't politics that you can incorporate, but never talked politics, never was divisive in a crowd, never understood. That's low hanging fruit. I
Yeah.
think guys are lazy that do that. But also, and tying in with that, my brother Will and I always said for 2.5 hours, if you're sitting on hard bleachers or in a comfortable seat in an air conditioned arena, uh, forget about all that other stuff. For those 2.5 hours, we're taking you on a little journey here that's fun, it's high energy. And then pretty soon, it transitioned into I want you to play along. I want you to be part of the show. Used to tell crowds towards the end of my career, hey, we're going to throw a party here, down here, and we're inviting you to the party. So you can either sit and not be a part of the party or you can join in, whatever, but we're having it. And man, for those years that people would stand up and sing along or dance in the aisles, that that is that's a pretty good feeling. I said one time, I used to have a line. I didn't say it once, a few times. We'd just be rolling and the sweat would roll off of me. And I'd say, you know what, guys? There's 15,000 people in this arena right now, and they all fit right there. All 15,000. That's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that in certain professions there is that spot, that moment where you've got them right there. So
Mhm.
good for you guys. Yeah, you talked about not doing like the low-hanging fruit stuff. One of the things that stands out when my wife and I went to the Sioux Falls one is that you went out there and you were bantering back and forth with the announcers, and which I assume has to be a pretty good relationship in order for that to work. But you said you were trying to go through, I think, a thesaurus or a dictionary and try out new words, and the word for that day was chagrin, and you were just like, much to my chagrin,
Much,
I,
we
I,
it's funny. It was chagrin that day.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
chagrin. That's funny because the PBR schedule, rodeos, you're independent. Like you don't work for the PRCA, the Pro Rodeo. You work for the Tucson Rodeo, the Reno Rodeo. They're all independent, and you work with different announcers and different music guys. There's a consistency at the good rodeos who will be there, but PBR is a little different. It's like a concert tour.
yeah.
So, those artists on their concert tour, they can fall into that routine. They have their set list, but they do things to spice it up. So I remember we'd get to like Sioux Falls was April. It was always right before Billings. And Sioux Falls was in April. So we had been doing this for, 13, 14 weeks in a row or
Yeah.
whatever. So we'd come up with things. The word of the day, to use chagrin, much to my chagrin. And can you define chagrin? Not really.
No,
But
no.
you know, chagrin.
So we appreciated the outside the box thinking because then we were talking about it like later that day. So I appreciate the that approach to it and not, doing the low hanging fruit like politics or whatnot. Because it does. There are times where it's like, I could, but I won't. And I mean, when I
Uh-uh.
became T-Man and dressed up like a superhero and counted down the top 5 plays in the state of Montana for 2 years, the initial idea was Mr. T, where I would, because my last name's T-Man, I would be Mr. T, and I was never on camera, so I would just do a voice, like my best Mr. T voice. Oh, I
I
pity the
pity the
fool,
fool. Yeah.
And so then when we did the first one like that, the guys, down in Missoula at headquarters were just like, I want to see him. I want to see what he looks like. And I was like, all right, challenge accepted. So I went and raided, Spirit Halloween and got all the pimp, necklaces and rings and put my hair up in a mohawk and then got a ripped sleeve jean jacket. And so I do this bit and they're laughing their asses off, but then I get a call, from our news director saying, "Hey, we got to pull this thing." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Well, we're worried about this being received the wrong way in Montana." And I was like, "Okay, I'm not really
what,
sure that's a thing for
what
Montana,
way would
but
that be? Yeah.
I said, I'm not doing blackface, so I mean, you guys can rest easy on that. But then the other news director, who had been here a little bit longer than he had, she said, Well, I'm not so worried about that. It's just that he recently won a likeness suit against the dispensary for using his
Oh,
likeness. And she's like, I don't know if we want those problems right now. And I said, Okay. So
that I'll go with that one.
yeah,
I'll go
yeah.
with that.
I'll go with that. So I had a week to come up with a new idea. And of course, when you think about Montana and being in Great Falls, there's a military base here. So I was like, oh, I could do drill sergeant. I could yell it, I could shout the top plays. I could do rodeo, but that seems like such low-hanging fruit. And it wasn't until like just at the buzzer that I came up with the superhero idea. But it couldn't be like a high-budget superhero like we were used to seeing on the big screens at movie theaters. This had to be low-budget, Ben Stiller, Mystery Men style, like we're talking duct tape and tights kind of thing. And so we came up with that and it hit and I was surprised that it did, but that's thinking outside the box where yeah, you can do the stuff that makes sense, that's the low-hanging fruit, or you can think just a little outside and give people something different to,
Yeah.
entertain them. So,
Well, I got asked a lot the last few years of my being in the arena. Man, society must suck now to have to be so sensitive about material the way society is. So, well, for one, I never really treaded that way to start with.
yeah.
You know, but what I noticed the last few years was even if you said a certain thing, people are sitting in wait to go, oh, I heard how you said that. I heard how you said that. And that's implying that yada yada. Wait, wow, you went a lot of steps there. So it did get tough as far as going back to what you said about wait, that is not I didn't even say that. So I would get that quite a bit. Well, you said this with I joked in New York City one time. I used to always give not that I have to tell this story, but I gave a Cooper Tires Fan of the Night Montana Silversmith's buckle for years. Gave thousands of them away. Little girl in New York City, and I said, "You gonna wear this to school Monday?" And she said, "No, I don't have school Monday." And I said, "Oh, why?" And I'm touring. I did.
Yeah.
Well, it's Martin Luther King Day. Oh, and I made the comment. It didn't click because my girls have to go to school in Montana on Martin Luther King Day because they did at that time.
Yeah.
And boy, some lady that used to be a reporter at the New York Times, I was racist. The way I said it, it
Wow.
just went on and on. She kept emailing the company, and finally the
Jeez.
CEO said, "You don't know what you heard. Do you ever contact us again?" Anyway, not that I needed to tell that, but it gives you an idea
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
of kind of what you have to navigate through
Yes,
your job,
yes.
my job, the public life of anything.
Yeah.
You just got to pick your words very
Yeah,
much.
like I said, the likeness thing I didn't have a problem with. I get it. We didn't want those problems. But the other thing I was just like, I think people would find humor in this because, like I said, I wasn't doing blackface, which I know is like a huge,
Yeah,
huge
no,
thing. It was just me, doing the best dress up Halloween version of a celebrity of a different skin color that I could do without,
Yeah.
taking it to that offensive level. So it
Hey,
is what it is,
I made a living being able to dance like Michael Jackson. I can
Yeah,
kill it. So yeah,
which is great because my next question was actually dance lessons. Did you take them and how many?
never.
Wow.
I
Damn.
never did. I was a very visual learner, and when I was younger, as I got older, I didn't keep up because the dance. I just didn't have the energy or the skill. But uh, just really watched, was into music and dancing, and the breakdancing era was right in my prime, high school, kind of into college, and then the 80s. I can still do that. Michael Jackson, I was enthralled with like Michael Jackson, what a performer he was. And there was different things that came up through the years, but just my mom always said that my grandpa was a great dancer, my dad great dancer, of course different kinds of dancing. My parents radio station up in Shelby, Montana, KSEN, and to this day, at 5 minutes to 8 every single weekday morning, they play a polka. And my parents would polka in the kitchen.
This
And so it's mostly good dancing, mostly is about being able to just instantly pick rhythm out of a song, you know. And I
Wow.
kept up with music, and so never took any lessons, and just was able to do some things. Yeah. You and me, by the
Yeah.
way, for people watching, both of us currently getting over colds.
Yes.
Yeah. So congrats on getting over it.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. But man, I lost a bet to myself. I was like, this is a guy who I swear has taken his craft so seriously and wanted to be so good at it. He had to have taken dance lessons at some point. But man,
Yeah.
that's impressive though. That is impressive you didn't.
No dance lessons. I've been asked if I took improv classes,
I could
which
see that. Yeah, for
um,
sure.
because I'm not a very good writer, like of comedy.
Yeah.
But I can read. My specialty was that.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, so never improv classes would have been interesting though. When I was young, I didn't know that was out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing. Pretty self-taught on everything. I
Very
sang.
impressive.
I sang in the arena, but which I had a background in music, so some of that maybe. But yeah.
Okay. Well, we got a few more before we get to the speed round, which is just, quick first
Okay.
thing comes to mind, yes or no answers. So the next one is we ask this on every episode of Stars of Big Sky Country, and that is how did growing up in Montana shape you? I mean, what
Uh, Good you asked that, because that is a centerpiece when I do public speaking. By the
excellent.
way, available if you'd like to.
Yeah.
The centerpiece of how I am who I am. What's it like to be me? Well, I grew up in a town of 1,700 people, Choteau, Montana, still 1,700 people. Tell people that all the time. They think Montana, every bit of Montana is booming, and not all of it is. And we were home alone a lot. My parents worked. So I came home after school by myself, made a snack, watched Happy Days and the Brady Bunch, and play played stuff in my imagination, and went outside all the time, and just my mind went crazy. And in the summertime in Choteau, Montana, you throw your towel over your neck and ride your bike to the swimming pool and swim with your friends, and then you go home, you have a snack, you get ready, and you throw your baseball glove on your handlebars and ride your bike to baseball. I don't know if there's any connection, but I always say I knew very few people throughout my athletic career that ever tore their ACL, and I still say it's because we rode our bikes everywhere. You know,
Not
um,
wrong there.
yeah. So it shaped me physically because we were always in shape doing stuff. We played a lot of sports. My dad was a former coach as well. Played every sport we could: football, baseball, basketball, track. I even wrestled in junior high, and I hated it forever, but I did it. And but my imagination and my creativity, that's where all of that came from, was small town America. People think it's a joke, the hey, when the street lights come on, be home. No, that was no cell phones. We were just out.
Yeah.
We just did our thing and made our minds work. And that was, yeah, I was proud to be in Montana. I didn't think I lived in a small town. I thought I thought Other towns were small towns, but not Choteau. We had a lot there.
Well, and Montana, I think, is quite literally the backbone and core of what you ended up pursuing as far as a career. So I have to ask, if you think that or do you think if you grew up in another state, and of course rodeo is all over the place, but somewhere where rodeo wasn't as prominent, that you would have still pursued some kind of entertainment career? Like mascot comes to mind because you look at sports, Oregon has their duck, who is like the biggest mascot out there, and then same with Philadelphia. Some of their mascots are huge. I mean, it was that something that if you weren't around rodeo would have been maybe the avenue?
Yeah, I was looking back. It took me a while to remember this through my career, but I was enthralled. The one I watched was the San Diego Chicken. Remember, and when he first came around, it was new. That was a interesting, unique thing. So I was enthralled with that. Then it was the Phoenix Suns, the gorilla. Remember, and that was the guy from Great Falls for a while. So that was intriguing. When I was in high school, Shoto bought a mascot. That's the first time they got a mascot uniform. And I inquired. Now I was in sports, but like girls basketball games, because girls basketball used to be in the fall during football. What if I did some games? But then they told me it came and the bulldog head was like this big, so you couldn't have done a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was anonymity in performing was very interesting to me. Yeah, that definitely some kind of performing.
Okay. Okay, good. And I'm glad to know that it was there regardless.
Yeah.
All right, so the last one before the speed round. We talk a lot about Montana Tough on this series and what it means to everybody. What does Montana Tough mean to you? How would you define it?
Um, when friends would break an arm or skin a knee or get hit on the playground and break their nose, or we didn't freak out. I watch now, kids would be fine if their parents wouldn't freak out all the time. Kids falls and skins his knee and it's a freak out. That was every day for us. I remember wrecking my bike on the side street of Choteau. My mom worked at the newspaper and there was an old building. And I remember I was riding a bike and the little handlebar grip came off and I wrecked into a mud puddle, endoed in a mud puddle. And I remember I went over, my mom came out and helped me, but there was no article in the paper. I mean, we played tackle football in the front yard.
Yeah.
We played, we weren't allowed to play tackle football on the playground, but we had great football games. Um, and then played basketball on the gravel. I don't know if I can define it, but I think that's it. You just did things every day that were physical. You had bruises and scabs on your body all the time. And it just does something different. I played football with some guys though. I'll float a name for people from Shota. I played, there's a kid on our football team and we were good. We got beat in the state semifinals and should have won, but played a good roundup team and got beat. But I played there was a kid played linebacker named Aaron Kelly. He played the entire season with a complete destroyed shoulder. And that was just him. And it's like I'm fine. Tears would run down his face because it hurt so bad, and yeah, it's just different. I don't know that it's toughness or we are just too dumb to know any better. It's just how we grew up. Damn it, get out there. Okay, here's a band-aid and it's sandwich. Go.
A Band-Aid and a sandwich. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it. Every answer has been different, but I think it all centers around the same thing that you guys just lived life and there was, not
Yeah.
consequences, but you guys just pushed through.
Hey,
So,
but like I'll just use the Bobcats and the Grizzlies. There's a lot of out of state kids. That's
yeah.
just the way it is. But the good coaches at Missoula and Bozeman have understood that they need that base of Montana kids, first of all, to teach the other kids what it means to be there, and just to have that, Bobcats last year, There was a kid from Butte, a kid from Melstone, a kid from Billings, a kid from Missoula. I mean, they were the studs, you know.
Yeah,
So it's a base for what those colleges build around.
absolutely. All right, speed round now.
All
So
right.
these ones are a collection of questions that I came up with, particularly suited to you and just your life and everything, because I'm very curious. So the first one is this is a big one too. Best barbecue in the U.S.
Okay, I'll tell you right now. I live in Fort Worth and I'm not much of a barbecue guy. Um,
Wow.
but I've heard and have experienced that it's better in Kansas City.
See, that's the line right there. Is it Kansas City or is it Texas? So okay.
Um, I'm not a brisket guy. We used to have Kansas City barbecue and our catering at the arena there, and it was good. So yeah, I don't dislike barbecue, but I don't drive out of the way for
Okay. All right. Fair
it.
enough. Best burger in Montana.
Yeah. There could be a lot of them, but I'm gonna be loyal to 30 years ago and say an ugly burger at Rod's Drive-In in Havre, Montana.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Best bull rider in Montana.
Ever?
Ever. Yeah.
Oh boy. I'm gonna go. I have a tie.
Okay.
Two guys that are sometimes considered the best bull riders to never win a world title. Clint Bronger and Scott Bretting. However, I got to throw in if you really went in a short time period and he's making a comeback, two-time PBR world champion Jess Lockwood.
Oh yeah. Just
There you
Lockwood.
go. Yeah.
All right. Solid choices. Your guilty pleasure song that you would dance to at PBR.
Billie Jean. It's like chocolate to me. It's just like,
I love
ah,
it. No hesitation whatsoever. That was
yeah.
great. I only asked this on the professional one. Most famous person in your phone.
Oh, we play that game sometimes.
Oh, jeez.
Uh, Larry the Cable Guy is one, although
Really?
his name isn't Larry.
Nope. It's Paul, isn't
Uh,
it?
uh, how about this? Currently, it didn't used to be, but Cody Johnson,
Okay.
country singer Cody Johnson.
All right. Those are two good
Yeah,
ones. Yeah, I'll take
there you
that.
go.
Let's see. What is your fondest PBR memory?
Fondest. That's a tough one. Uh man, because it just was a tour. It's almost boy. Rodeos are a little different because they're all so unique from each other. And PBR was a, a tour. Hmm, I don't know. It'll come to me.
Okay. Well,
Gosh, we'll come back to it.
the next one might help jog some memories.
Okay.
Favorite stop, be it a city, arena, or fairgrounds,
Yeah, and we judge them all different because you judge
because
it
they
by
are.
food. I mean, is it the crowd? Is it food? Uh, I'm gonna go. My sneaky favorite used to be Kansas City, um, but New York City is the most unique because the
Wow.
fans are so harsh, like good, whatever. But this always surprises people. I'll do this for the Montana people. The greatest PBR stop that we have ever had consistently year after year for 3 days is in Sacramento, California.
Wow.
Northern California is very big cowboy country, ranching country. People don't realize that. California has some of the best rodeos in the country. And Sacramento is right on that edge. And we're in Golden One Center. It used to be out at the old NBA arena. Now it's right downtown. Crazy. They are crazy. They have fun. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I was not expecting that answer or the New York one for that matter. That is,
Madison Square Garden, man. Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, that
World's
makes
most
sense
famous
then.
sports arena, and it is.
Jeez. Wow. That's something. Okay.
Here's a fun. I'm going. Speaking of New York, I'm doubling back.
Okay.
Fondest um, memory, and there's probably way more than this one, but I'll go New York City. when Shania Twain knocked on our locker room door and came in and said hello and said, "Where's the damn Canadian?" Because we had a Canadian bullfighter, Jesse Bird. And then later in the show, I went up and put her on camera and she kissed me on the cheek.
Wow. Impressive. Okay. Yeah, that's a very suitable answer. I will take that one. So, me personally, in Montana, I've been to obviously the Dusty Glico Challenge here in Great Falls, and then another professional bull riding one, or just professional rodeo here in Great Falls. I think it's the finals. And then I've been to one in Helena, and then one that was crazy because I had beer cans thrown at me was Augusta.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so for
Oh, yeah.
you, yeah, you're like that tracks, that tracks. Okay.
That does.
So for you, of all the stops, of all the rodeos, not PBR, but just rodeos, which was your favorite in Montana?
In Montana.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. The first rodeo to ever really verbally hire me was Red Lodge. So I always loved Red Lodge. Um, but I'm gonna go back a ways, and I haven't been there in years and wasn't there for years. This might I loved Dylan. I mean, you feel like you're leaving one out. But as far as kind of how a crowd was and Kalispell, the
Okay.
Northwest Montana Fair. It was I don't know what it was, but it was just really cool up
Yeah.
there. And I could judge them all. Like Dylan's cool because I went to college there, so people knew me. My dad's from the Big Hole Valley. So I know there's a lot, but yeah, I'll go Kalispell.
And the last one on the speed round, where are the best bulldogs from?
Oh man. All right. I'm going back. I gotta go with the longest, and that's the Choteau
There
Bulldogs.
we go. There we
But
go.
Western, I'll go
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it's still Western Montana College in my mind, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Well, it's been a great time talking to you. We do like to end these things with a little bit of wisdom. I'll leave it up to you, though. You can either send us off with a life lesson that you learned from your experience with PBR, or if you have, some wisdom for anybody out there that's looking to pursue an uncommon or even unorthodox career path. We need more dreamers in Montana, Flint.
Yeah,
We need them.
we do. And honestly, my girls, I moved down here, my girls are down here, and I tell everybody, Montana's great, but opportunity doesn't necessarily always present itself.
Yeah, very true.
Sometimes you got to leave. And and whatever your passion is, there's something out there for that passion. You got to find that passion. And Lou Holtz used to say, three keys to a successful life: find something you love to do it very well, and find somebody who will pay you to do it. But you mentioned Montana, though, how it shaped me. And this goes back to my girls and what my mom and dad taught me. You can be the very best at what you do, but it's how people remember you for how you treated them out here. Well, we taught our girls that: be a good winner, be a good loser, treat people with respect, and that's what people remember. I'll leave you with this: my favorite quote from my dad: "Be careful of whose toes you step on, for they may be connected to the ass you have to kiss someday." There you
That
go.
is beautiful. That may be the best way that we have wrapped up an episode ever. Because that feels like such a Montana quote, man. Like that
Right?
is,
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard anything more true or to the soul of Montana. So that is fantastic. Thank you so much. This has been a real treat. Like I said, you were on the wish list for, if we're gonna have people that have made an impact, either they're from here or they came here, to Montana and had amazing careers or just left their mark, at high school or the college level. I said I've got to have Flint at some point because,
Of
he's made an
course.
impression with me in the short times that we've interacted, but everybody knows and loves Flint all over the place. So, man, it's been such a great time talking to you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, man. Appreciate it.
You too. So that'll do it. We are starting season two off the right way with everybody's favorite and most famous rodeo clown. So for Flint Rasmussen, the man in the can, I am as always the team man, Richard Teeman, and this has been another great episode of Stars of Big Sky Country. So until next time, we'll catch you among the stars of Big Sky Country.